Hey, what's going on, everybody? RogersBase here, and before we get started, I really quickly want to give a shout out to my friends over at War Dragons for sponsoring today's One Piece theory. For those of you guys who haven't already played it, War Dragons is a really cool 3D mobile real-time strategy game that puts you in control of an army of dragons as you quest to take over the world. There are over 150 dragons for you to breed and train, and each one has their own unique attacks and spells. My personal favorite is Zin, who I actually liked so much while I was playing through the game that he's already been leveled up to the max. Once you reach level 5, you can join forces with friends to take on other guilds in real-time PvP multiplayer, and I actually put together an in-game Mammoth Boys guild specifically for my YouTube subscribers. So if you already have the game, make sure to join up with me, and if you aren't already playing War Dragons, this should give you the perfect reason to start. The game even has a real-time chat feature, so we could all talk about One Piece theories while we're ravaging all the other realms. Also, for those of you who are already familiar with the game, War Dragons just launched a new Atlas expansion which turns the world into an open 3D sandbox realm with even more powerful dragons and defense mechanisms for you to uncover. Thanks again to the War Dragons team for being my sponsor boys this week, and if any of you download the game, please make sure to join the Mammoth Boys Guild, because right now I need all the help that I can get. I've genuinely been having a blast playing through it, and it's free to start, so try it out for yourself. Without any further ado, on to today's theory discussion on the elusive Monkey D. Dragon. Now, while I will be talking a little bit in this video about Dragon's potential powers, as well as the potential role that Monkey D. Dragon will play in storylines to come, I really want to focus this video on Monkey D. Dragon's past, because that's something that we don't really know much about. In fact, we know nothing about Dragon's past. Really, what do we know about Dragon's past? Alright, I guess we know a few things. One, we know he was born Monkey D. Dragon, so he has the will of D. We know he was born the son of Garp, Monkey D. Garp, who is a hero of the Marines. And then, what else do we know? We know that he eventually went on to become the head of the Revolutionary Army and the most wanted man in the world. Now, how are you born the son of a Marine hero, and then you go on to be the world's most wanted criminal? Something doesn't add up there, and that's really what I want to break down for you all in today's video. Now, in order to do that, I first want to take a look at the scenes in which Dragon was present prior to the storyline beginning. And those are only two scenes. One scene is at Gold Roger's execution. He has the hood, and he does not have the signature tattoo. And the only other scene in which we see Dragon, and at this point he does have his tattoo, is 8 years prior to the main storyline beginning, at a meeting of the Council of Kings at Marijoa. One of the members of the Council of Kings brings up a picture of Dragon and says, look, this guy is not really a threat right now, but in about 5 or 6 years, he could potentially become a threat, and we need to do something about it. Beyond those two scenes, we did not see any more of Dragon until the storyline actually began, and when I say began, I mean like the beginning of Romance Dawn, in which Luffy is a child. So again, I'm not including any of the stuff with Grey Terminal or anything that happens after Luffy sets out to sea. Though I guess while we're on the topic of Luffy, that is one other thing that we know about Dragon's past, and that's at some point he meets a girl, and that girl gives birth to his son, Monkey D. Luffy, who also carries on the will of D. Alright, that's one other thing we know about Dragon, but we also don't know anything about Luffy's mom, and I'm really not going to get into that bit of his past here. I'm mainly going to be focusing on his motivations for becoming the leader of the Revolutionary Army and why he left Monkey D. Garp. But there is one other thing I want to address near the beginning of this video, and this is the most popular theory that I've seen in regards to Dragon's past. This is a theory that I've seen reposted on multiple occasions. It is permeated throughout the entire One Piece community. I've seen it posted on forums, on Reddit, on Amino. I've seen it posted on literally everything, and I've even seen YouTube videos rip the exact text of this theory off of websites and then make videos on it. And this theory is that Monkey D. Dragon was at once an admiral within the Marines, eventually found out the evils that the world government was doing, and defected and became the leader of the Revolutionary Army. I'm here to 100% debunk this theory for two reasons. Now, first off, if you remember one of the two scenes that we already know about in regards to Dragon in the storyline, it's that scene where the Council of Kings brings him up 8 years ago and mentions that he may become a threat in the future, but he's not a threat now. Now, at this point, he had his signature tattoo, and he was not already with the Marines at the point in which he is hooded without his tattoo at that moment within the story. He must have already left the Marines. Now, at that point, I'm imagining that he's around the same age as Aokiji, Akainu and Borsalino, and now all of them are actually Marines, but they all started as Vice Admirals as well. If you remember, back during Robin's flashback, Aokiji was actually a Vice Admiral at the time. So most likely, at the highest, if Dragon was ever with the Marines, he was probably a Vice Admiral. And two, if he actually was an admiral that defected from the Marines, he would most certainly be a threat right away and would be something that would have been brought up at that Council of Kings meeting. And there's one other thing that I have to debunk in regards to this theory. And again, I don't know if people are just reposting this theory and not really looking into it, but this is a really big point. One of the main pieces of evidence for Dragon once being an admiral is the idea that within Chinese mythology there are 4 seas, and the 4 symbols of China are represented by 4 animals: a pheasant, a bird, a dog, and a monkey. And then if you think about the names of Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru, we know obviously that is yellow monkey, red dog, and blue pheasant. Now, of course, if there was a 4th, maybe he's the bird, maybe he's a dragon, but here's the thing. This is completely false because the 4 symbols of China are not those animals. Those animals come from a Japanese folktale called Momotaro, in which a character travels with a pheasant, a dog, and a monkey. And that actually has nothing to do with the animals that symbolize the 4 symbols of China. Let me actually give you the names of the animals that are the 4 symbols of China. There are, and I'm repeating this right off of Google search, literally anyone could do a very basic Google search and find this out. The 4 animals that represent the 4 mythological seas in China are the azure dragon of the east, the vermilion bird of the south, the white tiger of the west, and the black turtle of the north. Turtles and tigers really don't sound like dogs and monkeys to me. So I don't know what's going on there, but somebody probably just wanted to take the Momotaro myth, and at this point in the story, when this theory was originated, we didn't have Momonosuke. We didn't have all these ties to Wano country and all the other very clear references to Momotaro, so people just connected the names of the admirals, which is something that Oda has already addressed and said that yes, their names are based on the characters within Momotaro's myth, and just went along with it, despite the fact that it has nothing to do with the Chinese mythology that it's referencing for the rest of the theory. Now, with all that out of the way, what exactly is Dragon trying to accomplish, and how did he go from being the son of a Marine hero to the most wanted criminal in the world? And I think it mostly has something to do with the will of D and the connection that he has to his father. Now, Garp, we already know, tried to make Luffy and Ace into proud Marines. And he really tries to hammer that hard into their heads when they're children. And I think the main reason behind this is due to the fact that he failed in actually making Dragon a Marine. And that somehow Dragon did not go down the path that Garp initially had intended for him. Potentially due to him finding out some secret in regard to the world government. And I really do think it's much more layered than him just finding out the evils of the world government being just something as basic as like the horrible things that the nobles did in East Blue, or like the awful things that the Celestial Dragons did where they would take slaves. I think it's something much deeper than that, and it most likely has ties to the Void Century and the Ancient Kingdom, as well as the Will of D. Now, one of the most famous quotes in One Piece in regard to the Will of D is that one day the descendants of D will bring upon a storm. This is something that's brought up by Trafalgar Law during Punk Hazard, it's brought up again during Dressrosa, and it's mentioned on multiple instances throughout the course of the story. But what does this actually mean? I've always taken it as a metaphorical storm, meaning the people who have the Will of D will one day take down the world government, the Celestial Dragons, the nobles, the people in charge, and then basically return the world to as it was during the age of the Ancient Kingdom. But what if Oda is actually hinting to something much more literal? What if it's not a metaphorical storm, but that the people who have inherited the Will of D will actually bring a storm upon the world government and take down the people in charge using the power of the weather? Now, there have been multiple characters who've been shown to manipulate the weather. We've got Nami with her climate act, we've got all the scientists in Witheria, and then of course we have Big Mom injecting her soul into clouds and fire to create thunderstorms. But there's only one character in the story who is always preceded by a literal storm, and that of course is Monkey D. Dragon. So I'm wondering, is that storm coming from his powers Or is the storm being created just due to his presence alone? And I think it could honestly go either way, though I think it's much more likely that it has something to do with his devil fruit powers. But then again, where did he get that devil fruit from? And I think that's one of the reasons why he is the most dangerous criminal in the world. I think his devil fruit power is actually the first ever devil fruit power, the initial devil fruit that was created in the ancient kingdom. Now, I think at some point the world government was in possession of this devil fruit, but that dragon actually stole the devil fruit from them after finding out the truth about the Void Century, the ancient kingdom, and the Will of D. Basically, the will that he inherited from his ancestors. And thus, knowing that he couldn't do it alone, he went on to create the Revolutionary Army and to amass people who had the same goal in mind, to take down the world government once and for all, and to officially reveal what happened all those years ago. But Roger, you're probably asking, how in the world would Dragon know all this stuff if he can't read the poneglyphs? Somebody would have had to tell him all of this. And that brings it back to his father, Monkey D. Garp. Now, we know a few things about Garp. We know that Garp, despite being this legendary hero of the Marines, has always managed to stay a vice admiral. He's been offered the position of admiral multiple times, but he's never wanted all the attention. And yet, he is the grandfather of the person who is the protagonist of the story, who is very much against the world government, and the father of the most dangerous criminal in the world. And if there are a few people in the world who know the truth about the Void Century, about the Will of D, one of those people is most likely Monkey D. Garp. Now, who did he find this out from? Most likely his rival, Gol D. Roger, prior to Roger's death, maybe around the same time when Roger asked Garp to look after his unborn son, Portgas D. Ace. And my theory is that Dragon found out this information not long after, either overhearing it during the conversation that Roger had with Garp, or maybe Garp confided in Dragon all of this information, thinking he could create a new, proud, and just type of Marine that goes alongside the morals of the people of the ancient kingdom, and knowing that he could not create an immediate change within the world government, decided to stick with them. But Dragon, disgusted by the fact that his father remained a government dog, actually stole the original devil fruit, and knowing the original goals of the people of the ancient kingdom, went on to amass a revolutionary army to finally take down the world government once and for all and fulfill the goal of the people of the Will of D. And I think that's another reason why Dragon is the most wanted criminal in the world. Not just due to his power, not just due to the fact that he's the head of the Revolutionary Army, but that he actually knows the truth about the world, and he's one of the few people who knows the truth that is actively doing something about it. And this also gives great motivation for Garp and gives us a better understanding as to why he wanted Luffy and Ace to become Marines, because he failed to turn Dragon into the just type of Marine that he believed could actually make a change in the world, instead of actually making a drastic change like what the Revolutionary Army is looking to do. So where does that leave Dragon right now? Well, I actually talked about this a little bit in the video that I did back in July for my One Piece 20 for 20 series, and I stand by what I said in that video. I think the next time that we're going to see Dragon and the Revolutionaries is going to be during the upcoming Reverie arc. I think that Dragon knows that Shirahoshi is Poseidon, one of the ancient weapons, and wants to use the ancient weapons against the world government. Nico Robin and Caribou, two of the only people who know this truth about Shirahoshi, both have connections to the revolutionaries, and I think that Dragon knows he does not want Poseidon, Shirahoshi, to fall into the hands of the world government, and thus is actually amassing his army not to go up against Blackbeard, which is how it was telegraphed by the newspaper, saying that, oh yeah, Blackbeard ruined Baltigo. I think Blackbeard only showed up on Baltigo because Burgess was there, and Burgess was like, oh my god, Dragon's here, let's do something about it. I think the army that he was amassing and the fight that he was talking about was not just the final war of the story, but was actually a war that will go down at Reverie, where I think Dragon is going to try to take possession of Shirahoshi to keep her from the world government. So that's when I think we're going to see Dragon next. I think we're going to see him again during the Reverie arc, and we're going to see Dragon, Sabo, Koala, Ivankov, and all the revolutionaries trying to take on the world government at their home base. And considering the importance of the Reverie arc, it also seems highly likely that Monkey D. Garp, Monkey D. Dragon's father, will also be in attendance. If all the other high-ranking Marine officers are going to be there, we've got, Fujitora saying he's going to make an appeal to the admirals and the fleet admiral and the rest of the world government to abolish the Shichibukai system after what happened in Dressrosa. I have a feeling Garp will probably be there as well. And in addition to Garp, I would also really like to see Dragon interact with Luffy's friends that he's made along the way. But mainly, I want to see Dragon and Garp finally have their face-to-face interaction at Reverie, and I think it's actually highly likely, and we may find out sooner rather than later whether or not some of the theories that I brought up in this video are true. So with all that being said, what are your thoughts on my theories for Dragon's past? Please let me know down in the comments below, and also share your own theories in regards to Dragon's backstory. I feel like this is a completely open-ended discussion. There's a lot of different ways this story could go. I'm really excited to finally see Dragon and Garp interact. Hopefully at the Reverie, please at the Reverie, and also if you liked anything I had to say, please leave a like on this video and make sure to subscribe, because I bring you guys reviews about the anime and the manga every single week. And finally, big thank you to my friends over at War Dragons for sponsoring today's One Piece theory discussion. Legitimately could not have done it without them. I really wanted to take the time to look into all of this and reread a lot of the story, and I just wouldn't have had the time to do that if not for their sponsorship. So I really appreciate it. Go check that game out. There's a link down in the description below. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.